Is Arukh Shulchan Yardeh Siman Lamed Tes Sif Yud Tes Chabez. This is supplemental day 262 of the Arukh Shulchan Yomi series. So we're talking about a sircha which is clear, sircha which is not the adhesion which is not adhering to anything. What's the status? So it's a question. You test. Yes, how could a sircha ever be good? Even according to those who say it's not a problem. Maybe it was adhered to something and now it's not adhering anymore because it got severed. But certainly what happens to the Misa and the Sparka. I have to say that if it in fact got disattached from whatever it was adhering initially, I said the canvas supposed to show would become made a hole at that moment. And if we inflate it, we don't find a hole. No hole. But the question is, so, well, why not concerned that in fact was separate and there was a hole, and there is a hole. We just can't find the hole. It's another Yontif's question. Evidently, he says, but well, that's how you blow it up. So inflate it to see if there's a hole or not. So according to this, that's why it's not an issue, because if we rely on the inflation to check if there was a hole or not, there isn't a hole. Well, that's fine according to Rambam. But what about the Torah and Shulchan Aruch? They say you don't have to check. No inflation necessary. Huh? Rashi. And this is according to being that does not hold like Rashi's opinion, which is on Sivut Ches. Usfila holds a Yesir below Nekev, holds that there is such a thing as adhesion without a hole, much is bar. Avashitas Rashi about it. But according to Rashi, of course you have to check. The Kiddush is that you can lie in the check, right? Being Kain, Yesh Tema Lamlo Kasu Kain. It's astonishing. Why did they write this? At least you should require inflation. Okay, maybe there is a possibility that the sircha, since it's not nisreches anymore, perhaps that there is no there's no hole there. But at least you should require inflation. No, according to Rashi, you do have to check. Yeah. The blue bracket says here, you need to check on account of the minhag that the Ramah writes, that where a sircha can remove my manipulation, you check. It sounds like it's on account of a minhag. Who she does Rashi no, according to Rashi, you need b'dika mikra din. Then the Rambam Pasuk came. The Rambam Pasuk's way. I people guys to sure. The finish much because the what I said, they'll show it's not just a minute. It's you're compelled to do it. It's an essential b'dika. But now we have the question. Well, we hold all our b'dikas are only effective because they're chumras, not mikra din. But here you're saying the b'dika mikra din. You're saying the b'dika mikra din. So then, hey, we're not. We say we're not an expert of those b'dikas, right? The Yeshma the B'zeh ain't lach mir kokach. Says, well, this already is so machmir. It's really not. It's not as mikra as other b'dikas. L'nei shar shitas ain't sir b'dika klal, because according to Torah and Shulchan, I don't need b'dika at all. Beduk. Chof. All the show. We could also ask. In case not pasuk rabbi says to see tests. Why he says to pasuk sirchashim makom lemakom beuma atzma. If you have an adhesion which goes from place to place on an una or an uma itself. Dina kedin sircha, its status is like that of a sircha hatluya, of a dang. It's the same size as a dangling sircha, which is not adherent to elsewhere. According to the opinion we said in Yud Ches, so it's adhering somewhere else. Even if it's adhering to the same uma, what's the difference? There's no sircha without a hole. The Baba says, "But can just start making the sheet. That's Rashi treif makom. And evidently, Yam Shalem and Tazo. Yeah, in fact, this is treif. Tam Atirim who gan came tam tzirchat luya. So those who matir say, no, this is also considered to be a dangling sircha. Why? Shalei says sircha gemara with an absolute sircha. I say it would be adhering to another lobe. So also makom hasos is adhering to the same lobe. Ein ela have shotas lecha. So the extension of moisture, interesting language. For kosher, that's okay. That's the shach. Ben Esor Ben Es Klau. This is not. We don't. not understood at all. Right? Okay, randomly attached here, not there, but does that mean the nature of the sircha is intrinsically different? Yes, and here no longer. It seems more likely to say nishi sircha gemura. Okay, that's fine. It's an absolute sircha. Become a never is gam stima gemura have. Wow, that's a good b'chesh. Instead of being absolute, and in other words, a legitimate closing of the hole. Why? Because if it goes in order from lobe to adjacent lobe, instead of being stimagora, because it's stable, it's not going to get knocked off. Shekasha, she's by times it's kasha for the reason which we will explain. Mitam davi is the stima gemura, since to be an absolute closure. We don't agree on that as a scab which just came out as a result of a wound. Since both of the ends of this adhesion are in one place, they're lying in tranquility. It's a good closure. That's a tool shore. Then when it's in order, that's the way it grows, and that's kosher. No, really, there's a hole there. Don't think the fact that it's here, adhering here, not there, doesn't mean there's no hole. There's a hole. But since the adhesion is a place where the lobes lie on each other, it won't get severed. And the scab will continue to get stronger and will in fact be an effective closure. We'll still explain this further later on. Chazal say the the Chazal say a scab which came about as a result of a wound in the lung. Ain't a krum, it's not a scab. The Sopoliso says it's eventually going to break apart. Even though the scab is on the place of the wound, and there's nothing pulling in any direction. Because why is this any better than an adhesion than a scab without an adhesion? You're saying a scab with an adhesion, constituent is okay, but a regular krum without an adhesion should be okay, and we just said it's not okay. What's the difference? Good question, right? Certainly now the scab is in two places, because it's adhering to two places in the lung. Here's somebody could say the snakes of us when there's two ends. Two adhesions. Oh, it's better. Right. The one fortifies the other. But the sircha ain't long also, with this sircha, interestingly enough, he says we don't have to assume a flaw. Which take it so sircha that there's a hole on both ends of the sircha. And beside echad, just on one side. And the other side, it adhered to the place where it hit, where the stalactites came to rest. It came into the midsides of the mokum bari, since on the other side of the adhesion, where it's healthy, it becomes stronger and more fortified, and it closes. Although it's not for it to close there really, so I don't think it means that. That's literally. No, I think I might just parse the sentence wrong. That's my problem. Because when it came into the sides of the mokum bari, Holech v'chazak, right? It becomes stronger and stronger, and therefore mechazek was the same gamatzah sheni, and therefore it strengthens and closes. So the other side shaboya shenekev, where the hole is. Okay, I just misread it the first time. I've krum machmas maka, but a scab which comes as a result of a wound which ain't lachisa, where it's not being held in place, no adhesion. Akmoka maka, just in place where the wound is achiza chalusha, a weak seizing. Achiza chalushi, sorry, it's a weak grip. Somebody says eventually it's going to break off. It's prima godim. It's good and proper svara. Okay, so that's the bottom line. That adhesion constituent fortifies a scab, and that's why it's good. Chabes. What we can ask on this shita, and evidently the answer we're not going to see today, but it's a long answer. If every adhesion comes as a result of a hole, then we're compelled to say then initially the hole came about, and then over time the moisture came out through the hole, little by little, and became solidified, and that screw became a scab. Kumsa enekam in this scat. According to enekam, and before this it was a hole. Can loman arim b'chush shasichos mitzuyas harbein bod kimat b'rova amos. That's because why do we see these circles, these adhesions that they are obviously very prevalent in almost all the majority of animals. The nekam upon mamash lo sircha ein roim and actual holes without adhesions we don't see. Avachas may even 1 out of 100 animals. V'yos harbein even less than that. Lo Isrami. How does that happen? Good question. How Mimsias does not happen that we find that we shechmate animals with holes without sirchus. If it's a process, so you should be able to shech animals at an earlier stage process and find lots of holes. But already the dover pashut, who is also obviously cholashas, the robe amos ksherusin. Those animals are kosher. But you see, most animals have adhesions. Because if you're going to say every adhesion is not possible if there's no hole. It's a kind of paradox. How can you say that most animals are kosher, most animals have sirchus? It's a very basic question. Okay, so we'll have to wait till tomorrow to see the answer.